wasn't sure I was going to make a film about this because it's kind of difficult admitting that you've been an idiot. Um, I left it last night when I was trying to bolt the rocker covers on, and I was having difficulty trying to get everything to sit down correctly. Um, I'm surprised nobody actually pointed out what I was doing wrong, because if you've built any sort of engine, it should be actually pretty obvious. Saying that though, it may not be obvious because I've just spent a couple of hours out here trying to figure out what was wrong, thinking, oh no, are my cams lifting up too high? Has the block been machined down too low? You know, what's going on? Why won't this thing fit? The answer is quite simple. I was trying to put these down with the camshaft with one of the lobes in the uppermost position, which means when you try to bolt the covers down, of course, the cam is going to be sitting on the valve and trying to push the valve down. So that's all the problem was. As you can see, I've gone through and I've taken all of this apart, and I was checking everything and I was measuring everything. I went back to my little CAD model, which I discovered was actually wrong in one dimension. I had one of the rocker arms slightly too short. So I fixed all that. Still didn't make a difference. And it was just now that I started measuring it with a dial indicator to see what actual lift I was getting that I realized, yeah, that cam lobe is sitting right at the top. So of course the cover isn't going to sit down because it needs to compress the valve spring, which is the whole point of the rockers in the first place. So turns out I've taken this apart for nothing. It is good. I was able to check the wiping pattern of the rocker arm on the valve stem. Oops, a plant just fell down. So I can reassemble this again now, knowing that it is all correct and it is all going to work, and put it back together. Got everything back together. I haven't actually adjusted the valve clearances yet. I've just kind of set them so the push rods aren't floating around too much, and I have checked that the engine still turns over completely. I've done several revolutions of that. Initially there was a tappet that was sounding like it was getting stuck, so I just squirted oil down the down all of the push rod holes, and that fixed that. There's no oil in the sump at the moment, so there's just whatever oil I add to the top of the engine from the oil can. And you can still turn it over by hand. It's really awkward because you have to kind of grab the flywheel and not get your fingers trapped anywhere, which is difficult. But it does turn over, and the valves are opening and closing as I would expect. And there is compression. I've just got tape in there now, and you can see the tape being sucked up and down with the compression. And that seems like it's good. The firing order on these is 1, 2, 4, 3, which I think is the exact opposite of the MGB. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that all seems good. That all seems to be working. The valves are wiping across the end of the valve stems as they should. Everything's nicely bolted up in place. I actually have the Y pipe in place now, and I think apart from the manifolds, I do need the magneto back before I can do anything. So there's no way for me to run this engine without a magneto. There's no other way to get spark. So that's what I'll end up waiting for. But it's looking good. The next thing may be actually filling it up with oil and turning it over on the starter just to absolutely make sure everything is working and oil is getting everywhere. I don't like running it like that, but I don't think it's going to hurt. I mean, you're not doing it for hours and hours and hours, and as long as it's got oil in there, hopefully that's okay. I think you should probably minimize how much of that you do though. But I want to make sure that it is working and oil's getting to all the right places and it's not leaking before I actually tried firing it. I'll have to replace that cardboard, I think. So I'll get some clean cardboard. Now this should be buttoned up enough that it won't leak oil. So I'll get some clean cardboard and put that underneath it, and then I can check it for any leaks or drips. The other thing I should really do is, if I can find it somewhere, I should have, there we go. This is the engine oil dipstick, and I'm not sure if this dipstick still works with this sump. I think the sump is the same depth. Yeah, and it looks like that will read the same even with the longer sump. Oh, let's see if we can angle it up. It'll go in something like that. This does seem very loose and rattly there, so I'm not sure if there's supposed to be something on there to help hold that in place, because I could imagine that bouncing out and disappearing. So I don't know if there's meant to be a little rubber sleeve on there, or if this hole has just been sort of got bigger over time. So if anyone knows what's supposed to go there, please let me know. But I think setting the valve timing shouldn't be too difficult now. I just have to get each cylinder onto the compression stroke where the valves are completely shut, and then I can set the clearances. The clearances for these, I believe, are normally 2 thou on the inlet and 3 thou on the exhaust, and I think that is set hot. Because my cam is a bit sort of sportier than that, and it looks like it's got quietening ramps on it, I think I'll have to go with bigger clearances. I'm not sure exactly what, something like 8 thou on the inlet and 10 thou on the exhaust maybe. So we'll have to see. But I think that's all I'm going to do for tonight. After realizing how silly I was, I think it's time to go off for a nice beer.